I met a gypsy.
How do you see the Ducati landscape playing out?
You know, I think for the sort of to get to basically get all the benefits out of the social media side of it, they keep playing up the Marc Marquez thing. I'm not saying he's not a potential candidate or they haven't looked at him, but
I can't see him going there.
I don't see that. And here's I think why I would lean toward the way of I don't see that is I think that Jorge Martin right now definitely is, if he maintains the rhythm, he looks like he's going to be the one you have to take the championship away from. And yeah, I think if he ends up winning the championship, I don't see how they could overlook him for anybody else. But if he falters and doesn't win it, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. You know, it's hard to say.
What would you do?
Well, you know, you have to look at it that, you know, Mark is in his early 30s now. And, you know, all these other guys are so much younger. So if you're looking toward the future, you got to go for the younger guys. And, but the fact that Jorge Martin's been on a Ducati, you know, for a while now, I think it would be, you know, I think I'd want to keep him in the fold, especially with his skill set and the way he's doing. I mean, how could you let him go somewhere else? Because I'm sure there's a fear that if he went somewhere else, he could be a real threat, you know, to their brand. So the fact he knows the bike, has experience with the bike, and especially if he wins, I don't see how they could pass on him. I don't. But you know what? I've seen some crazy things happen in that world. So, you know, I wouldn't sign my life to, you know, that happening. Because again, there could be some crazy politics of it that actually are the deciding factor. It has nothing to do with skill or how many champions. I mean, I know guys that won championships and get fired. You know, how does that happen? But it does.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty wild predicament that even you've just got one manufacturer that's just so dominant. Like even just to have such a crazy lack of parity within the class to where they're all like basically just like the winners are fighting over this one thing.
Yeah, it's true. But you know, the thing is they have really Ducati has, for essentially you can say all the best riders, and so they're able to really draw a lot of data from a lot of different sources, but a lot of sources that are winning races or right there to win races. So it's not like you're taking, you know, second or third tier guys that are finishing 10th, and you know, because maybe their information about the bike could be different than a guy that's going a second quicker. So, you know, their draw of information to develop the bike to make it better. I do know in 2027 they're going to make some changes to the rules, which, you know, I think it's a good thing. I mean, when you see those bikes, and even at COTA, you know, I was there, and there's so much on. I mean, it's almost like it's not a motorcycle anymore. It's almost in a way like half motorcycle, half car, and the wings and the setting things. I mean, guys are messing with the aero packages and these ride height devices, and there's so many buttons and levers on them. I thought, wow, yeah, I'm gonna have to go to a university to get a college degree just to learn how to work all these controls. It's crazy. I mean, for me, and I look at it, it's maybe, you know, like you say, you get used to it. It's just the new way of how things roll. It is what it is. It's not crazy, but you know, when you stand there and look at it, there's just, I'd be afraid if I got on it, that thing would be like a bucking bull because you'd be turning all these buttons. The bike would be going up and down. It would be all over the place. But you know, that they haven't figured out how to do it. But a lot of that, some of that stuff is going to go away for 2027, which I think it'll be a good thing.
Yeah, man. That's such a crazy, amazing motorcycle when it's working. But you get that GPS one turn off and the bike's completely unrideable. Like it's wild how dialed they have that to, you know, even just the engine braking and the power delivery and everything is just corner by corner by corner based on the GPS.
Yeah, but
like
when
it's
you,
just insane.
But when you watch it, when I watch it on TV, when you watch a guy come out of the corner, the trajectory of the line that the bike takes, everybody does it the same. Everybody opens the throttle the same. And then when you hear things like, because the aero packages on these bikes, like when you get in the guy's slipstream, the air is so bad, I mean, that it overheats the front tire. It's like, what? That doesn't even make sense. And then, so to be able to, it's not like before where you could outbrake the guy because you actually got in deeper. And I think now to be able to pass, you almost pretty much you got to make contact with people because everybody's doing everything the same. So like, if this is the limit where you can brake and both guys brake there, well, how's the guy going to get underneath him? Either somebody has to massively make a mistake and run wide and you get underneath them, or you're going to have to, there's going to be some paint missing. I mean, absolutely.
And some of the passes this year have just been insane.
But then they have this committee that imposes these penalties on guys. Well, that was too aggressive of a pass, or this, that. This is where it really gets, this is where the math stops adding up for me. Either you got to take all that stuff off and let these guys race, but, I mean, I remember going, you go out, you go over the curb or whatever it was. That's what it was. But now if you go too far on the curb, you can get penalized. And then how they apply these penalties is another thing that's it's interesting. And just like I was watching on a podcast from Paula on Saturday, I was there, and the Hayden Deegan thing where he went off the track, but Tom Viel gets penalized for something, and then this guy doesn't. And then here we go with this whole political thing of how are they going to address that? But more than ever, I think it sort of it can put a bad taste in the viewers. Think about the viewers, because the viewers are going, maybe they're fans of one guy and they're thinking, what the hell? You just penalize this guy and you're letting this guy get away with it. And then they think that there's favoritism going on.
Well, then you just sit there feeling like your sport's fucking shit.
Well, like there's somebody controlling the outcome of it. And that's where in MotoGP, I think that...
well, it's just like no one knows what's going on. Like not even the people at the top.
Well,
and you just feel like you're like, what's going on here?
Well, the thing is, you think you watch the outcome happen, and then some guy could turn a couple of guys in for exceeding track limits or something along those lines, and suddenly what you thought is not. But when you see some of the stuff, how it's happening, then guys are having to get a little aggressive on things because of the way that the bikes are designed. Well, look, if you design a package like A, this is what it's going to happen. Well, you need to change that. And that's why I think, getting rid of a lot of the aero stuff and sort of making the bikes become more like motorcycles again, I think will help in that aspect. But I think a lot of it too, with all this sort of Monday morning quarterbacking with, exceeding track limits and some of this stuff I think it's gone overboard.
Yeah. And do you think the new motor regulations will play into anyone's favor in particular?
I don't think so. In the end, the factories, they're testing all that stuff now. And, the cream always rises to the top. I mean, whoever has the bigger budgets, the better engineers they're gonna figure it out, and they're gonna rise to the top. And the ones that have less talent, less ability, less money, they're gonna be, struggling a little more. But it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. But it's just nice when racing is racing, and when you watch the event, you go home and the results don't change, and it's not like political stuff ends up wreaking havoc on what you just witnessed with your own eyes.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.